Masters of the Universe, the Legends of Grayskull podcast.
Legends of Grayskull is a fan podcast exploring the vast worlds of He-Man and She-Ra. Join Sean Scavarna and Matthew Duke as they discuss the history and mystery of Eternia and Etheria, diving deep into all incarnations of Masters of the Universe.
Hey, you know who's back? It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Now that you know, let's go. Get ready for the show. It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Right now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 117 of Legends of Grayskull, the fan podcast where we discuss the history, the mystery, the magic, and mythology of He-Man, She-Ra, Eternia, Etheria, Nordo, Primus, New Adventures, Old Adventures, Ladybird, UK Annals, Comics, Mini Comics, anything and everything you can think of with that He-Man, She-Ra, Master Universe, Princess of Power! That Mondo logo over in the corner. I'm Matthew Dooch, here again without Sean Scavarna, but I do have the wonderful Curtis Ackerman filling in yet again. Curtis, how are we doing today?
Doing most excellent. I'm always impressed by that Micro Machine-esque intro that you do.
That is the greatest compliment you could give that intro right there. I love those commercials. All right, we got an episode today. So we got some news. We're going to jump right into it. First off, they did set. I probably should have pulled it up. Do you have the release date offhand?
I do not. We're just unprepared.
We're unprepared. We'll get into why in a minute here.
Probably could have much ado about nothing.
Masters of the Universe movie gets 2026 release date. June 5th. 2026. The live action Masters of the Universe movie is now with Amazon MGM. Apparently it's part of Netflix already, and they said we will be able to sit down in theaters June 5th, 2026 and watch this film. And according to the synopsis, 10-year-old Prince Adam has crashed to Earth in a spaceship and is separated from his magical power sword, the only link to his home on Eternia. After tracking it down almost 2 decades later, Prince Adam is whisked back across space to defend his home planet against the evil forces of Skeletor. But to defeat such a powerful villain, Prince Adam will first need to uncover the mysteries of his past and become He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe.
Bullshit. Sorry.
I'll say it out loud. Bullshit. I'm sorry, guys, but as fans of this podcast know, and everyone else, we have done this song and dance
20 years?
22 years? Because it's pretty much right with MYP. That was hitting its stride, and they're like, oh, we should make a live-action movie. So, yeah, I want to say it was around 2002 when it first announced. And even this freaking synopsis has been used before. The crashes to Earth and gets separated. This is nothing new. We're just, again, regurgitating the same bullshit. So, if I were a betting man, I would take bets that June 5th, 2026 will come and go without us ever purchasing a movie ticket.
Yeah, I would say I've gotten in the past, I would say, 6-7 years ago when I would hear something like this, I would start to get excited.
Yep.
And you would start to hear casting rumors and all kinds of stuff. And, people would debate on whether that was a good cast choice or a bad cast choice. And can this person bulk up and all this and that. And it all turns out to be much ado about nothing. It never comes to fruition. And I will say, from listening to that synopsis, I actually hope it doesn't come to fruition, because that sounds freaking terrible. I don't know anybody that watched the 87 movie and they said, you know what the best part about this was that it's set on Earth. That's if we make a new movie that's live action, that's the part we should keep. You know,
Well,
like,
to dive into that right quick. First off, young Courtney Cox, so don't even. But I love the '87 movie, but this day and age, there's no reason. I mean, include Earth as Marlena came from Earth, absolutely. But to have it even be a part, and then to have it be he crashes on Earth as a kid, grows up, finds his power sword, and goes right back to Eternia to face Skeletor. Well, then why are we doing the Earth thing? Like,
I don't know.
I don't know if you watched it, but they just did the CGI series, which followed kind of a similar thing where Adam
Where he grew up away from his parents. Yeah.
right, but it was on Eternia. So
Right.
it's like, and I love the CGI series. I thought
It's great.
So, like,
Yeah,
if you're gonna do the orphan thing, do the orphan thing. But why do we have to have Earth as the background for that?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the '87 movie for what it is. It has certain things that I watch about it, and it makes me nostalgic. At the time, I hated it when I was younger, but I appreciate it for what it is now. That said, when we've gotten excited over the past 20-something years about a live action He-Man, it hasn't been about seeing Earth. No. It's been about seeing, okay, understood budgetary constraints and everything, why they had to do the '87 movie the way they did. But now, as we've moved into an age where with CGI, with bigger budgets, like, Netflix. I mean, when this thing was being pitched with Netflix, I was watching a thing this past weekend that said that last year, Adam Sandler was the number one.
Give me 1 second, Curtis. Sorry. All right, folks. Sorry for that interruption. Gotta love kids. So bottom line, I know I cut Curtis off. Bottom line, unless I hear actual casting, actual production, I can't get excited until I actually see something. And because we've had He-Man was cast as that freaking
Noah dude.
Yeah, Noah Centineo bullshit. And people were like, "Oh, it's happening now. We got a He-Man." No, you need a whole fucking cast. Yeah. Excuse my French. I know we try and keep Legends of Grayskull family friendly, but
I wouldn't even get excited about casting decisions of this.
No,
like until I see a trailer, I don't believe it.
Right, because now in recent years you've had movies like Batgirl that are completely done, completely shot, ready to go, and they even get shelved at that point. So it's like I would have to see pre-sales for tickets before I get excited.
Yeah, I'm definitely not getting excited, and that Synapses doesn't make me excited at all either. I remember what we were saying. I was saying before we, had to stop, but I saw last year that Adam Sandler was the top grossing actor last year, right?
I can believe that.
No theatrical releases.
Nope.
0 theatrical releases. It's all from a Netflix deal that he has.
Yep.
That is how much money these streaming services have, right? Is that they have the budgets to do this stuff. So we don't have to do an Earth Masters of the Universe. We don't have to do that. That we had to do that in '87. We don't have to do that now.
Yep.
These streaming services have the money, they have the resources, they have the CGI, they had the ability to do this stuff in an Eternia setting. So don't give me this whole crash landing, blah, 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 whatever. Like, even if they did make it, I wouldn't be interested. I really wouldn't. So, like you said, I'm not getting excited till I see a trailer, but also if this is what the movie's going to be, still not going to be excited. So.
Yeah. The bottom line, just the fact that they're recycling that synopsis from 6 pitches ago shows me that they have no idea what they're going to do. And they're just like, we have it now. Let's regurgitate this stuff. And that just gives me no hope. So,
yeah. I mean, we just got done watching Fallout, just kind of the desert wasteland vibe, like that screams to me like outside of Snake Mountain, like that area. Like you could do that kind of thing. You don't have to make it purple and stuff, but you could do it as like a kind of wasteland kind of thing. Absolutely. And we've had plenty of stuff that could do like a royal palace. I mean, heck, look at any of the stuff with Game of Thrones or any of that kind of stuff. Like you can do palace settings. It doesn't have to be cartoonish. So yeah, there's no reason why this thing can't be set in Eternia if it was to ever happen, which I don't know that it ever will. I don't think we'll see it in our lifetime. So
and yeah, we'll leave it at that.
there you go.
Moving on to something that is happening, Ninja Turtle Power Hour, which is a fellow podcast covering all things TMNT. They dropped the news that there is going to be a Masters of the Universe Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles of Grayskull 4-issue miniseries starting on September 25th, 2024 from Dark Horse. Synopsis: when the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles come across Krang and Shredder making a deal with some otherworldly demon mage named Skeletor, things get hella weird and they end up in Eternia. It turns out when you mix Ultra Mutagen with demon magic, you get a nasty purple poison, and it's brought Eternia to the brink of chaos. So Leo, Raph, Donnie, and Mikey are teaming up with the Masters of the Universe to kick some blue bony butt. The only problem is He-Man is missing in action.
Interesting.
And we do have the covers for issue 1. This will be drawn by Freddie Williams, who has done most of the at least the recent crossovers. And he was supposed to do the original crossover for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that was supposed to come out like 2 years ago and got canceled. And so yeah, the regular cover features He-Man alongside the 4 turtles in their well-known Turtles of Grayskull costumes. We got a variant cover of He-Man and Leonardo squaring off, and then the second variant, Skeletor in the Roton chasing down the party wagon.
Can you go back to that first picture?
Yeah.
Because, and this is just to see how well you know me.
Okay.
I love everything about this except for one thing. What is the one thing I don't love about this?
Do you not like the nipples on He-Man?
Nope, that's not it.
You like the nipples on He-Man?
It doesn't bother me one way or another. There's one thing on this that bothers me.
Are you still bothered by Mikey wearing the wig?
So stupid. Why is he wearing a wig? Like,
because that's what the toy has.
Why does the toy have a wig? I don't get. Like, I get the costumes. I get that, it's like they land on Eternia. The whole synopsis. It sounds great. Like, okay, cool. I'm normally not a crossover guy, but if you write a good story, I'm down with it. And I could see them coming in and having Man-at-Arms and Donatello working together and creating some new armor for them to go up against the forces of evil. Get it. Why isn't he a wig? How is that helping anything? Yeah.
Well, what if it's explained well in the story?
If it's explained well in the story, sure, but I don't see any explanation where, like, it's not like he's going to throw on that wig and all of a sudden, Beastman's going to be confused and think that's He-Man. Oh, look, there's He-Man with a shell and green. Hey, come on. Like the wig does nothing.
They might do that. Here's the other thing, too. For speaking from a logical standpoint,
yeah.
So the turtles all get this gear after they come to Eternia, which means wherever they suit up just has a bunch of blonde wigs on Eternia sitting around.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I liked the little story you read there. I love the rest of this color. I love the armor. I actually bought that Michelangelo figure because when you take the wig off, it looks awesome. But the wig's just stupid. It was stupid as a toy. It's stupid on this cover. Whatever.
Oh. But yeah, so it looks like it's going to flesh out the story that was shown in those mini comics.
Do we know who did that art on that cover? That first one?
That's Freddie Williams.
Okay. It's really good. That He-Man looks awesome.
Yeah. He's done. He'll be doing the interior art as well. So
yeah,
that
he's good.
Should look pretty close there. I'm kind of burnt out on crossovers. Personally, nothing against Freddie or the art or anything. Just like we did Justice League in the first DC series, then we did Injustice. We've done Thundercats. I think there's one I'm missing in there, but it's just like I don't know. I'm hoping at least this one will not be an end of the world type thing, because that's where they always seem to go. Like off He-Man and destroyed Castle Grayskull, and it's like that's not the kind of stuff to me you do in a crossover. So I don't know. We'll see.
I'm kind of over comic books in general. Like I just don't have time, and they're too expensive, and they're so many variant covers, and like once it's all done, if I hear that it's good, I wouldn't be opposed to picking up a trade paperback where it's all together in one. Right. But I know if I get like the issue 1 or issue 2, whatever, I know that I'm going to miss some issues along the way because I just don't go to my comic book store regularly enough. And even if I have them pull it, like a lot of times, sometimes they'll miss one or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I'll wait. If I hear good things, I might pick up a trade paperback down the road. But yeah, I'm kind of over it in general. But I do love looking at the art, and that picture is really good. I don't know about those 2 alternate covers. Those, I mean, unless they're trying to get 5-year-olds to pick it up, I don't know what those are.
I kind of like the goofiness of the Skeletor and the Roton, just like pew-pewing down the turtle van. Like,
I mean, you also put your Demistros in a Roton, so that makes sense.
He is. He's actually cruising in the Roton with Stitch still, so that's
yeah. So I mean,
all sorts of
I could totally see you liking that cover then.
But the He-Man and Leonardo one is just not great in my opinion. So I'll be picking it up, even though I'm not necessarily excited about it, but that's just because I want to show them that there is a desire for He-Man comics, because I would like someday to just get a nice ongoing He-Man comic that's not end of the world, not like just adventures, so.
I don't know if we've really ever talked about this, but are you like super into turtles, or was that not your thing?
I was.
Okay.
Nowadays, I didn't get back into it like I did He-Man, but yeah, for me it was He-Man, Turtles, Power Rangers. Those were like my big ones growing up.
Gotcha. Because I know you're younger than me, and I would have thought that you would have connected more with Turtles than with He-Man. So, like, it's just surprising to me, knowing how old you are, or like what age you grew up in, that you're more attached to He-Man than Turtles. That kind of surprises me.
For me, it's just going back to it. For me, He-Man just holds a greater history, and like I reconnect more with it. I was all into Turtle. Like I watched all the cartoons. I had a ton of the figures. Right. I picked up the comics when I could find them. Like I was all in. But just coming back to it. But I mean, I do have, like, I got the Super 7 Ultimates. I've got the 4 Turtles, and I've got some of the villains. And I've been reading the IDW run of Turtles, but I haven't kept up on it day and date.
Right.
I'll buy a trade here and there and kind of work my way through it. But it's like I like it, but it's not. I haven't reconnected with it as much as I have He-Man.
I just find that interesting because it's for you. It's like you chose He-Man, right? Like you decided, this is what I'm going to be into. For a lot of us old hats, like it was the shock of how different it was from everything else. Like because everything that we had known at that time, G.I. Joe's, Star Wars, were all these little, 3 3/4 skinny guys, or it was like the big, almost like Ken dolls, there was nothing, so when He-Man came out, and then all of a sudden you had these like big muscular dudes, and you're like, oh wow, like just the shock of it being that different. But for you getting into it, like at the time that you're at the age to start getting toys and stuff, there's more than just He-Man available. There's you had several different things that you could have kind of went towards, and yet you chose that one. Whereas a lot of us, that was like the only other option besides the skinny little weaklings. So,
well, I think a big part of it for me, honestly, was the fact that a lot of my vintage toys that I got first were hand-me-downs. Like my mom's I remember a big one was my mom's friend. She had a son who was more your guys' age.
Mhm.
So he was getting out of it as I was getting to that age of playing with toys.
Mhm.
And I remember one time she came to visit and she just brought 2 big boxes full. And I got that's how I got my Snake Mountain, my Fright Zone.
Oh, wow.
Rotan was in there. I think I had 2 Rotans in there,
Mhm.
ton of figures and everything. And so.
Hmm.
And then we go to the local thrift store my mom would shop at a lot, and they'd have figures were 50 cents and vehicles were $1 or something like that, maybe even a quarter for figures. So
I think it's interesting that how those little things like that family's decision to hand that stuff down to you has affected your whole life. Like,
definitely a big part.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That whole butterfly effect, like that one decision that somebody made you're now running a master's podcast, and you've met certain friends along the way because of this. And, you go to certain conventions because of this, all because of one decision somebody made a long time ago. That's cool. I like that.
And my wallet hates her for it to this day. So.
Nice.
All right. Last up, the big news we have from Mondo. The Masters of the Universe Sky Sled 1/6 scale vehicle. This is the timed edition, is available on Mondo right now for $395. I believe that's free shipping to the United States. Discounted international available. This will be available through May 17th at 11:59 a.m. Central Time. Our first Masters of the Universe assault vehicle, the Sky Sled, comes complete with swappable laser blast effects and a detachable flame exhaust thruster effect. As an added bonus, it also includes exclusive He-Man and Prince Adam portraits available nowhere else. Curtis, you are a big Mondo guy. Are you getting 5, 6, 10, a dozen?
I would have liked to get one of these because, and I don't know why it is in my brain, but I've always connected the Sky Sled with Triclops. And when I was a kid, I always had, hold on one second. Messaging Jesse.
We don't need Jesse.
He wanted to know why I didn't tag you in a certain post, but it's because you're not in the group that I posted it in. Anyway, yeah, I always associated Triclops with this thing. And so when I was a kid, I always had him on it. I'm anticipating that at some point they're going to do a Triclops. You can't just not do Triclops. So yes. I wanted to get one of these to have for whenever I get Triclops. I was fully expecting this thing to be about the same price as a figure, about $265, $265, $275. Even if it had gone up to $299, I probably would have bought one of these.
I was probably expecting $300 to $350 personally.
I think I think anything over $3 is way too expensive. I mean, if you look at the Battle Cat and Panther that they did, they those things were $500, so they're $100 more than this.
Right.
Fully articulated, multiple heads, a smaller version of the cat. Those things are jack loaded for $100 more than this thing. This has 0 articulated parts.
The controls move, and I think the gun on front move.
But I'm saying there's no wheels, there's no tracks, there's no, there's nothing in here that was difficult. The stuff that you're talking about moving is stuff that just plugs in and moves. This isn't stuff that they had to articulate and create, weird functioning designs and action features. There's none of that here. There's no action feature. There's no special articulation. There's no, you get a couple different He-Man heads that are this big, as opposed to the Battle Cat extra heads that you got. And the you know what I'm saying? You got a shit ton in that Battle Cat and Panther set for $500. This is $400 with not anywhere near that. Now, I think the people that designed this did great. Emiliano, all these guys that worked on this, fantastic job. It looks great. It is way too expensive in my opinion. And I know and I'm not trying to speak for everybody, but there's a lot of folks on the Mondo boards that feel the exact same way, that this is way too expensive. If this was more like $275, even $299, I think people would be very excited about this thing. $395, I doubt they sell as many as they were hoping to break even for the tooling. It's just to me, it's way too expensive.
I completely agree with you. It would be a great display piece, but at the end of the day, that's all it is. It's like you said, it's just to display. It's just to sit them on.
Mhm.
Like and it's way too much, especially considering I think there's a lot of crazy collectors out there who would have loved to grab 2 or maybe 3 of these,
Yeah.
get a Man-at-Arms and a Tila on one, flanking He-Man on Battle Cat or something. But like at that price point, it's not possible. Like, so it's one of those things you gotta think about that you might want to take a little bit of a smaller margin on just to encourage people to buy multiples.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at like the classified vamp, right?
Yeah.
That they did, the little Jeep thing, right? It's going to be about the same size as this. A Jeep would be bigger, but it's also for 1/12 scale, so it's going to be about the same size as this. That thing has moving wheels, has independent suspension, where that thing, like you can see that there's suspension on it. There's all these extra pieces to it. That thing was like $200. It was like $199. There's no reason why this is $395. Like, right. I get that Mondo is looking at stuff like, oh, well, the price that Snake Mountain went for from Super 7, and the price that the Java barge went for, and that this is not that. This is not one of those huge giant builds. This is not the Cobra Hiss tank. That's not what this is.
Right.
This does not have light up features. It doesn't have moving parts. It doesn't have extra Kickstarter figures that are going with it. This is not a crowdfunding campaign item. So it has no business having this price tag.
And honestly, those extra heads are only good if you're going to put He-Man or Prince Adam on there, where I would never put He-Man or Prince Adam on here. Like, I had Battle Cat.
And I don't like those heads compared to the ones that we got with the Deluxe He-Man. Yeah. Neither one of those look better than the ones we got with Deluxe He-Man.
True. It's the windswept. That's what you're buying. The windswept effect. But like I said, like if I'm getting this, I'm putting a Man-at-Arms or a Tila on this.
Yeah, I could see Tila on it. I really would probably wait for my Triclops. I would love to have one of these.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of sad that I'm not going to have one of these, but I'm not going to just fork out $400 for this. Yeah. I just and that's a problem. Listen, I love a lot of stuff. You know me. I love Mondo. I talk great about Mondo all the time. I've been a big proponent of this line and just talking up anywhere that I can. But the release schedule has gotten so fast that these things are on top of us, like one after another. And the pricing has gone up. And some of the pricing makes sense. And some of the pricing doesn't make sense. Like the pricing that they had on Orko did not make sense.
No,
like cut out some of that extra stuff. Just make it a basic Orko. Make that thing $150, and we're in. But you make that thing $260. You throw in an extra version of Orko. What I'm supposed to display 2 Orkos. Yep. You throw in Driel. You throw in this other stuff. I don't need all that. Like just do a basic Orko. And so I think there's some of these things that they've totally missed on the pricing. I think Orko's one they missed on the pricing. I think this one they missed on the pricing. And I also think that they're just hitting us one after another with these things. And these things are not 1/12 scale. You can't fit all of this in your display case unless you have just unlimited space.
Right.
So people are picking and choosing at this point. And if people are picking and choosing, you can't put this out for $400.
No. And and like I said, if I want a display piece, which is what this comes to, no one's gonna sit here with their Mondos and pew along the floor. Like you are buying this to set up in your case, in your display.
Yep.
I would rather have like a Grayskull Jawbridge backdrop or a Bone Throne. You know what I mean? Like hit us with the iconic display stuff if you're going to go display pieces. And, you know, they list everything as a timed edition now. So it's like, okay, so this is going to get another release. I'm waiting on that Orko re-release. I'm wondering if they're going to cut out the extra stuff and maybe drop him down to like 200. Because they've done it with He-Man. They did it with She-Ra. They did it with Skeletor, you know. And I just realized.
Let me just real quick.
Yeah.
The Thunder Tank from Super 7
Sure.
is available right now on Big Bad Toy Store for $3.99.
Discounted from
$4.99.
Okay. But even so,
but
$100 more initially.
That Thunder Tank is at least twice as big as this. It has moving treads. It has a section that opens where people can fit inside. It's got, you know, the arms lift up and the guns come out, and it has got all of that extra stuff for the same price as this right now.
Yep.
That, like, I love the guys that design this. I love the people that are creating this stuff. Whoever the business person is that's deciding on pricing,
yep,
out of their mind.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, you're talking about unnecessary stuff. You know, oh, it's a cool feature. That side panel pops off and you can see the circuits inside. I'm not going to spend $400 to display it with a panel popped off like Man-at-Arms is working on it.
Right.
It made a great photo. The guy who took the photos is amazing. It looks awesome. That's not going to be my display. So
I love that it's embossed instead of just being a
Yes.
sticker, because I could definitely rub that over my lips and kind of feel that. But yeah, I didn't need it to pop off.
Right.
You know, that could just be something that they glued in place or whatever. I don't care what's behind it.
And what I just realized, and I don't know why I thought it had it, but that stand only has the one height level.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't even put it like, if you're going to include stuff, include a bigger piece so that it can be higher in the air and angled. And
you can't even angle it or anything. It goes in one spot and that's it. It's just stationary.
Right.
So,
like, what do you're doing a flying vehicle without an actual flight stand, but you're going to include two heads for a figure I'm not even going to put on. I know some people might, but I think the majority of people would not put He-Man on this.
Yeah, I would never associate He-Man with this vehicle.
Yeah.
Maybe Prince Adam, but even then, like, I would, to me, in my mind, it would be Triclops first, Tila second, then maybe some other people after that.
Right.
But it definitely wouldn't be He-Man.
No. It's just one of those things. It's like I love to see them pushing the envelope. I'm glad for the people who wanted it. I guess I should have prefaced by saying I'm one who never thought Mondo needed to go into vehicles in the first place. The cats are different. I know some people consider the cats vehicles. I don't, but I feel they're characters in their own rights. Like, that's cool. But beyond that,
I think it's small enough that it makes sense to do this. And I would love to see this come back out at some point. I would say I'd love to see them do, like, typically when we see this stuff that's really priced too high, we go, oh, well, maybe they'll do a stripped down version later on for cheaper. But there's really nothing to strip down on this. Like, it's not like they threw in so many extras that's why this thing is so expensive. Not like you're going to take the two He-Man heads out and go, all of a sudden it's $299.
I mean, it'd be awesome if they did.
Right. And they're not going to come back out now and go, well, you know what? We're going to reduce the price for $100 because there's some people that have already purchased it.
Yep.
So I think it's going to be one of these things that's a great piece that is going to be super limited in quantity because not many people are going to pull the trigger for it. And it's sad because the people that worked on this did a great job and it deserves to be in collections, but it's just not going to be because somebody made a bad decision with pricing.
Absolutely. I think what we will see is we'll see a second edition come out. It'll be in the darker green with the fanged, like snakish head on it in the evil warrior scheme.
Maybe, but
that's
it's still going to be.
That's what I could see them doing.
$3.99.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. So
yeah. The one thing that I think they could do, and they could probably just throw it in with a figure, would be those like flying disc from the 87 movie. I could see that being thrown in with something, but you're right. Vehicles at 1/6 scale are just, it doesn't make sense.
No,
this one's small enough that I could see it working, but not for that price.
Yeah, give me, like I said, give me diorama pieces rather than vehicles.
Yeah.
That'd be much more appealing to me. Unless they do a Roton. I mean, we kind of need a Roton in 1/6 scale.
Dude,
So then I can get
Roton would be huge.
I can get a 1/6 Demistros and put him in it.
Oh, you're ridiculous.
I am. Real quick, I don't have the pictures, but I know you've seen them. Just because we're talking Mondo, they have teased that they're going to dive into Thundercats now.
Mm-hmm.
What's that do for you, Mr. Mondo?
I was never as big a Thundercats fan as Masters.
Sure.
I love the cartoon, but the toys never connected with me as a kid. Those LGN toys were just big and clunky and hard plastic, and it just wasn't the same vibe for me. So I never really got into the toy side of Thundercats, which means even though I love the cartoon, it just never, I don't have that same nostalgia for it. I do have 2 characters from Thundercats that I absolutely love, and I would probably have to pick up in a 1/6 scale, and that's Panthro and Monkeyan. Because I always loved anybody that had a weapon with a chain on it. You know, whether it's nunchucks, the flail, whatever, anything with a chain, I was down for. So I loved those 2, but it's not one that I definitely am. I'm not going to go all in on. Now, if they go into Silverhawks, man, I'm
Yes,
screwed.
Mondo Silverhawks would get you, huh?
Mondo Silverhawks, I'd be screwed. But I think the bigger announcement last week from Mondo was them getting into 1/12 Ghostbusters. And I don't care about
that.
Yeah, they're doing a 1/12 scale real Ghostbusters.
1/12, so that's 6-inch, right?
That is 6
Have
or 7-inch. Yeah. So
Have they
because
done?
I think they said 6.5-inch. They have not done anything that scale before, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't care about real Ghostbusters. They were okay as a kid. They had some cool monsters and action features and stuff like that. It's not anything that I will need. But just seeing Mondo get into 1/12 scale is interesting, because I know several of us have said in the past, like, if the Motu line that they're doing was in 1/12 scale with the same designs that they do, we would all be all in. Like, it would probably be the best Masters line ever.
But Mattel will never license a competitive line.
Correct.
So
but if they do real Ghostbusters in 1/12, what other properties could they potentially do in 1/12 that, you know, using that same kind of design? Because I think their design artists are great. I think they do an amazing job. So yeah, maybe it's not Motu, but maybe they do pick up a property that we do care about, and all of a sudden they're doing 1/12, and yeah, Mondo all of a sudden is this big time company and not just the niche 1/6 company. So
interesting. I'm curious if that is them going like, hey, we know we can only sell so many 1/6 scale figures, and maybe we need to look at something to broaden our horizon. Now that Funko's at the helm, maybe they're looking more at longevity rather than just.
I think it's a safe one for them to play around with.
Yeah.
Because I you know, we know Motu fans can be very particular. You know, you can't get everybody to agree on everything. But I think, especially if you're a real Ghostbusters fan from the, and I don't mean real, like you're not a fake ghost. I mean the cartoon that was labeled the real Ghostbusters. If you're a fan of that and you haven't really had anything besides the vintage toys and then the re-release of the vintage toys, you've never had anything. I think that you getting anything at this point is going to be exciting. So I think that's a good one for them to play around with to get down the 1/12 articulation and kind of work out some of the kinks, and then go to a Mattel, a Super 7, and try to license a different property and say, hey, here's what we've done with this line. We would like to go into this other thing. You know, are you interested? We'll see. We'll see what happens. I just think that was, to me, that was the more interesting news last week than the Thundercats, was the 1/12 Ghostbusters.
And so that continues the trend of Hasbro licensing out their properties, because so now they've got Ghostbusters to Mondo. I think it was Playmates they licensed to make, was it Power Rangers? There was something else big that they just
I'm not sure. I know they've done some
farmed out.
G.I. Joe lately to like Mezco and stuff like that.
Yeah. Interesting. I think we're in an interesting time right now with these big toy companies kind of deciding what the future is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think that is the news. Yeah, it was Power Rangers. Sorry, I had to verify that for my own. Yeah, so Hasbro just licensed Power Rangers over to Playmates. So interesting times. Playmates licensed Turtles to Mattel. They all just need to buy each other already and make toys together.
And I just, before we close out the show, I just want to say, appreciate you having me on. I know for the people listening or watching or wherever you cast your pods or whatever the thing is, I know I'm not a replacement for Sean. I'm just keeping this seat warm. Sean is the best, and
Absolutely.
I will be here to help, any way that I can. But we all love Sean. We miss Sean, and, happy that he's spending some time with his family and doing some things that he needs to do.
Yep.
And like I said, I'll be here for whatever I need to, but definitely not a replacement. So don't worry, you guys. You'll get your Sean back at some point.
Absolutely. All right. And in that vein, we do want to announce coming soon. I will not put a date on it because every time I put a date on something, some delay happens and I'm proven wrong. But very soon, we are going to start a special mini-series under the Legends of Grayskull banner. Curtis and I will be taking a run through the complete Mike Young Productions He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. So that will be kicking off soon. We'll have a special episode 0 where we kind of talk about our general introduction and feelings on the tune, and then we're going to go episode by episode. So we got 39 great episodes in store for you guys. We're going to run through the entire series in order. So look forward to that soon. We've got the Dark Horse Master of the Universe Revolution prequel going on sale May 15th. So there will be reviews on that. Curtis is not a comic guy, so that will be me and somebody else, but they will be there soon. Make sure to pick up your copy and show them at the local comic shop that we want He-Man comics. Curtis, for those of our fans who are not familiar with you, where can they find you?
I mean, I'm everywhere, but the big ones are Friday night. We do a show called Offworld, and it's kind of like an every other week thing. So on the main weeks, we do our normal cast, which right now is me, Dooch, Jesse Arnold, and Joe Gonzalez. And then on Sunday, I do Shooting the Shelf with Jesse on the Just Shelve It channel. That is mostly Mythic Legion based. But we typically are just highlighting artists from the community, whether they're customizers, painters, photographers, sculptors, whatever the case may be, and just getting to know them and kind of shedding a light on them for people that may not be familiar with them. So we really love doing that. So those are really the main two. And then, any chance I get to, weasel my way into somebody else's show, I'm going to do it. So.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming along, Curtis. Thank you all to all the fans out there who have followed us. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe. We appreciate you all. And until next time, go buy some comics.
Oh, come on.